from the shadows of the stadium.
Legends awaken!
Broncos Unchained. I'm your host, Boss Man Jay. From me and my beautiful wife, we say hello. Welcome to the channel. My wife is currently resting because she's 4.5 months pregnant and on bed rest, so she can't join us. One day I'll allow you to see her baby. Anyway, let's talk about our chain breakers and dominators from this weekend. The chain breaker was pretty easy, which is our offensive MVP. That's pretty easy. You know, Troy Franklin really showed out. We're starting to see, and very early, thank God, we're starting to see that Oregon Duck connection between him and Bo Nix. That's incredible. That's exactly what we want to see. That's exactly what we need to see. So our offensive MVP, our chain breaker, is Troy Franklin. Now let's get into the nitty gritty. As far as dominator, we picked Talanoa Hufanga, who in the Mile High Hall of Heroes we call the Tasmaniac. Moose from Broncos Breakdown, he gave us his guess too, and he picked Savion Jones. Now, before I get into whether our pick was right or not, let me just say that Moose should have been right. Savion Jones should have been playing the game in place of John Franklin Myers. John Franklin Myers has had 1 tackle in 2 weeks. I personally think that he's pouting like a little girl, because everybody else is getting contracts around him and he's not. But he just, quite frankly, as far as the people we had to sign, he's the lowest one on the totem pole. We have signed all of our core players through, Bo Nix's rookie contract. Thank God. We've got them all. We've got all of our core players. Quentin Miners, Malcolm Roach, DJ Jones, Cortland Sutton, Nick Benito, Zach Allen. We have them all signed, of course, the other rookies. We have them all signed through the end of Bo Nix's contract. The Walton Penner group definitely knows what they're doing, and I don't think there's a Broncos fan in the world that has a problem with what they're doing. They're paying the right people when the right people deserve to get paid. Now, John Franklin Myers is in a contract year. So I had made a comment on, I think, Locked On Broncos with Cody and Sayers, how John Franklin Myers is basically, he's auditioning for a new contract. Not just with the Broncos. He's auditioning for a new contract if we don't give him one. He's auditioning for a new contract with 31 other teams in the NFL as well. And with the way he's playing, he's not going to get it. He's not going to get a new contract. He's not even showing that he deserves an extension from us. I don't know if he's pouting. I don't know what his deal is. But I watched the last 12 minutes of the game from Sunday. He didn't do a single thing. He kind of ran around the place. And Jonathan Taylor, ripped us for 160 yards. But most of them, either he hit the gap between Jonathan Franklin Myers and DJ Jones, and JFM really didn't do anything, or he ran outside JFM, and JFM did absolutely nothing to seal the hole or to push it back inside. He did nothing. He did absolutely nothing. If he doesn't want to play football, he should not be on the field. Savion Jones should have been on the field. I think he's, sat on the bench long enough. I think we've waited long enough to see our high draft pick, take over for JFM. I still stick to my guns. I still think we need to trade JFM and Jaleel McLaughlin, who hasn't even dressed for a game yet. Take those two and maybe a 7th round pick and trade them for Isaac Seumalo and a 4th round pick from the Pittsburgh Steelers. At first, I was talking about trading for Quentin Nelson, but I don't see the Colts coming off of him unless it's an offer that's just like the Godfather said, I gave him an offer he can't refuse. Unless it's something like that, I don't see the Colts coming off their best guard. One of the best guards in football at that. I don't see that happening. So why not get what we can get out of JFM now before he ruins, our number 1 rated defense? He did nothing. I watched the plays. He was running around the place. He was jogging. He was trying to arm tackle, but it didn't even look like he was trying to grab anybody. He was just throwing his arm out there and not even tackling. He was just throwing his arm out there. The guy was running right through his arm tackle. It's very simple for a running back, especially of Jonathan Taylor's caliber, to run through an arm tackle, especially when it's only one arm. So our dominator for the week was Talanoa Hufanga. He played a good game, but he didn't really stand out over anybody else. Moose's dominator of the week was Savion Jones, and due to JFM, Savion didn't even hit the field, I don't believe, even once. If he did, I didn't catch it. The one thing people are complaining about is that, call for leverage at the end of the game. And I don't agree with call at all. I think it's a bullshit call. Honestly, it should not have been called. That's not something most referees call. And if you look at the referee, their little grouping, their little discussion, even the other refs are trying to tell them, please pick the flag up. That's not something you need to call. But they called it anyway. 15-yard penalty, 60-yard field goal went to a 40-yard field goal. Boom, we go from losing to winning, or from winning to losing, just like that. But you can go back to Will Lutz's missed kick. You can go back to, an incompletion. You can go back to the interception. You can go back to the hole, in the line that was never sealed to stop Jonathan Taylor. You can go back to a lot of different things. You can go back to PS2 hurting his ankle and not kind of, not being the full PS2 that we've known to endure, and love to watch. He was actually one of my wife's dominator last weekend, and he fit the bill. This week, Talanoa Hufanga, he did what he's supposed to do. He made the tackles. But quite frankly, the Talanoa Hufanga should not be making the tackles. Anytime you have a safety making most of the tackles on a running back, you didn't play a good game on defense. 460 or 470 something yards we let up on the ground. Last week, it was 133, not on the ground, excuse me, on defense. Last week, we let up 133 total yards, 70 on the ground, 63 in the air, and that was it. That's what teams have come to expect. That's what we have come to expect from our Broncos team. This week, I don't know what happened, but we made Daniel Jones look like Tom Brady, out there, and that should have never been. But when you have a 3-4 defense and you've got 3 down linemen and one of the linemen is just refusing to play football, just making it look like he is, and I mean you're weakening the defensive line so much that by the time the running back gets past the first wave, you're counting on linebackers or safeties and corners to make tackles that they should never be in the place to make. So we have a D-dominator this week, and that's John Franklin Myers. If he's not going to play, get him off the field. But like I said, I think we should trade him for go after Isaac Seumalo, fill that void that everybody keeps talking about at the left guard and Ben Powers, Luke Wattenberg. Maybe Luke Wattenberg will play a little bit better with, Seumalo playing next to him because Ben Powers, everybody keeps talking about Ben Powers. Even though he only let up 1 sack last year, he just doesn't seem to be the same player this year. So, maybe we could push, Jaleel hasn't dressed for one game, a single game yet. Anytime Tyler Bidet is on the field, the other teams pretty much, I know it, and I'm way up north. I live nowhere near Denver, and I can see that when Tyler Bidet is on the field, he's the focus. He's either, the check down or, the screen pass is going to him. So I think we take Jaleel McLaughlin and John Franklin Myers and maybe a 7th-round pick and try to trade him for Isaac Seumalo, and maybe a 4th-round pick for next year. I think that would be a smart move. Of course, I'm not George or Sean Payton, and I'm definitely not Greg Penner. I wish I was, but I'm not. I'm just a lowly Broncos fan who loves to talk about Broncos football. So that being said, that's kind of it for the week. Come Friday this week, we will be making our weekend predictions for next weekend. So you will hear my wife and mine prediction, and maybe Moose will throw a prediction in there too, and I'll see if I can't sneak a surprise guest and their prediction onto the show. So tune in next week, or today's Tuesday. Tune in a few days, and let's see who you pick. Maybe leave it in the comments section. Commenting, liking, subscribing, sharing is always free. We don't do this to monetize. We do this for fun. So please leave a comment, like the video, subscribe. And as always, mile high salute to all of Broncos country, and y'all take care.
Thanks, Broncos Unchained, for making me this week's chain breaker. Thanks, Broncos Unchained, for making me this week's chain breaker.
Make sure you check out Broncos Unchained.